Communism was a term first coined by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels through their books Communist Manifesto and Das Kapital. So it first spread into Malaysia through Indonesia and China. For Indonesia, a lot of people from Indonesia came to Tanah Melayu to spread their ideologies in Perak and Kedah. But since PKI failed to take over Java, they came to Malaysia instead, Tanah Melayu, to spread their influence there. But they weren't successful because they were too aggressive. They were too they caused too much. They caused too much like damage. Basically they were too aggressive, and this caused the people to hate them. So nobody listened to them lah. So they failed. For China, it started with Party Komintang, and Komintang came to China, came to Tanah Melayu, and had a branch here, and then slowly they expanded to multiple states, and there was also PKC, but PKC and Komintang had a fight, and then after that Komintang came instead, and after seeing Party Communist Nanyang failed, they decided to create PKM instead. So what did PKM do? So PKM's main goal was to try and influence everyone to like communism. So how do they do this? They actually got into a lot of these trade unions, which is like to help with trading, and try and spread their communist knowledge there instead, their communist ideologies. They also went to like organizations and then make newspapers and then went to spread it at Chinese schools, because back then there was no system gun. So like Chinese teachers who are communists can spread their ideology there. They also have tried to spread their influence in those places, but mainly they did it through trade unions. And then PKM also worked together with British to fight back Japan, because they hated Japan. They borrowed weapons from British, and in the end Japan surrendered. But because British took a while to come back to Tanah Melayu, they had 2 weeks, and then MPAJA, which was formed by PKM, decided to do whatever they want and kill anyone who they thought was supporting Japan for the 2 weeks that British weren't here. So, and then after that, when British did come, and they have DMA, MPAJA was disbanded, was cancelled, and then however, PKM were able to do whatever they want because they became a legal party. Like MPAJA is gone, but PKM is still there. So PKM can do whatever they want, and they are able to spread the ideology. And they went as far as going to multiple parties, including Putra AMCJA. But then they realized that this is not and then British realized that, oh my god, there's actually communists in Tanah Melayu. So they made PKM illegal, and they also made a rule which doesn't allow communists to be in trade unions. So what happened in Tanah Melayu? Basically, after the communists killed 3 people, 3 Europeans, British first declared darurat in only that area and part of Johor, which is that area was Sungai Siput. So they declared darurat in that Sungai Siput and part of Perak and also part of Johor. And then the next day they declared darurat in the whole of Perak and the whole of Johor. And then after that, the next day they declared darurat on the whole Tanah Melayu. So what did the communists do with this? The goal of communists is to try and cause as much problems so that British will not be able to recover, and then the people will hate British after that, so that they can take over the country instead. They're trying to make it so bad that people don't trust British, and British aren't able to recover from the communists. So how do they do this? Number one, they went for any source of like country's income, like mines and farms, and destroyed all of them. They went to mines and farms and destroyed them, so that the territory, Tanah Melayu, will not get enough money to develop as a country. And then they went for like houses, they went for hospitals, they went for work areas, and destroyed those instead. They destroyed roads, they destroyed pipes, they also destroyed the people who were trying to repair the roads and pipes, and they also killed a lot of people, and they killed a lot of officers as well. So there were a lot of lives lost because of this. They all did this just to make British panic and try to make them give up so that they can take over Tanah Melayu instead. They even killed Sir Henry Gurney. So how does British handle this? Firstly, they created this Undang-Undang Darurat, which had 6 main points. They were to arrest anyone who is a communist. They will punish anyone who is working together with communists. They would take away. They would give anyone who has a weapon or explosives a death sentence. They went through many houses, many villages, and also created Kampung Baru, just to make sure that the people don't become communists. They made PKM illegal, and they made other political parties illegal. And then after that, they arrested the people who were in those parties. Next, British had a few help with some defense teams. There's 3 main teams: police team, armies, and also volunteers. For the police force, there are 6. So firstly, it's Cawangan Khas, which is basically spies. Special constables, which is basically frontline. Police Hutan is your jungle guys. Police Wanita is your women task force. Senoi Prak is Orang Asli task force. Auxiliary police is police reserve. For Tentera, there was the Malaysian army. There was the Commonwealth army. And then there was also the Sarawak Rangers. And then the volunteers were only the Home Guard. But the Home Guard, there were a lot of people who volunteered to become the Home Guard. So what are their functions? For Cawangan Khas, they were spies. Special constables were frontline. Police Hutan, Senoi Prak, and Sarawak Rangers are all good with dealing with jungles. Because PKM love to stay in jungles because that's where it's hard. Because it's hard to find them in like forests and jungles, but these people know the jungle very well, so they're able to outplay the communists in that sense. Like they're able to, they know the jungle best, so they are able to find these communists for them. The Home Guard were there to protect the villages. They also introduced ICs so that people can be identified easier. They also made this rancangan bricks, which basically forces PKM in the rancangan bricks is to cut off PKM from Minion, because Minion is the supplier for PKM's resources. So if they cut off Minion, PKM will not have resources, and then they have to eventually surrender. They also relocated a lot of people into Kampung Baru, which is basically another village in another place, and they did this because those villagers were too close to communists, so they want to get them away from the communist law. They also have this Tawaran Pengampunan, which is like a forgiving program, similar to what the principal wants us to confess to him if we cheat in exams. There's also this campaign Bulan Rakyat, which basically spreads awareness on communism, and then they have lockdowns for places that are too risky. They have too many communists, and also for places that have people not cooperating properly. And then there's also this nerve war, Perang Saraf, done by Sir Gerald Templar. And what he did was he visited the place, a lot of kampung to talk with them. He made it easier to apply for citizenship. He allowed elections to happen so that multiple people can work together. No. He allowed these elections in KL so that people can participate in politics instead of communism. Like they can participate in like elections instead of being a communist. They gave money to those who are able to catch Chin Peng, who is the leader of PKM. They try and convince the Orang Asli to support them. They try and They try and spread awareness about communism through media, like newspapers and radio programs. And then they also have this black zone and white zone. So kawasan hitam is for places that have too many communists and need to go under perintah berkurung, while white zones are free of communists and are safe lah. And then lastly is Rundingan Baling. So Tunku Abdul Rahman and gang argued with Chin Peng and gang, but they couldn't get an agreement, so it failed. So what are the effects? Firstly, the number of citizens went up by 1.2 million Chinese and 180,000 Indians. Number two, MCA was formed to participate in elections, and they also gave help in trying to catch communists and also give money to Kampung Baru to help develop their places. Number three, it helped to speed up independence because this state of emergency proved to British that multiple races can work together as one, and this was further bolstered. It was further they became more confident after CLC and Parti Perikatan happened. So like CLC was that forced to give like recommendations on certain things, while Parti Perikatan won the first election. So how about economy wise? Firstly, British had to use a lot more money to try and tackle the situation. Number two, a lot of people suffered. People either get hurt, people either lose money, or their places get destroyed, and or they die. And because of this, a lot of people didn't have enough money, and then after that, because there are not enough resources, the prices of the food went up. So because of that, number one, they don't have enough money. Number two, they don't even have enough food to buy, and that also led to the ration, chatuan. Chatuan means you can only buy a certain amount of food per week or per day. So yeah, people suffered because they have no money, and also because they have no food. I mean, they cannot buy food anyway. So next is, because Kampung Baru is all Chinese and then Kampung Melayu is all Malay, and British didn't really make Malay, Chinese and Indians talk together. This caused the relationship between these races to drift apart. Like they aren't able to meet each other. The only races that can work together would be the ones who are in political parties, and the ones who are in political parties and they are able to work together. But these people who are like from different villages, because this village is all Chinese, this one is all Malay, this one is all India, they aren't able to meet each other, they aren't able to work together. So this caused the relationship between them to drift apart. And then lastly, a lot of people died, which is really sad, and communists suck. So in the end, they won the fight against communism, and the